Hello, everyone. Welcome to New York. Welcome to BazelCon. I'm Dmitry Lomov. I work from Munich office at Google. I lead the Munich part of the Bazel team at Google. And I want to talk to you today about what's coming and what's been going on last year and what's coming next, right? So we have a great conference last November. And just a few highlights from a lot of things that we have been doing. Of course, we heard a lot today about remote cache and remote execution. Starlark, our extensibility language, got a new name, but it also got a specification, a style guide, formatter, other tooling. You'll hear about that today as well. And we do a lot of Starlark stuff as well. There's Starlark API for flags and configurations. C+ rules are getting the great Starlark API. Android rules are moving to Starlark. And in general, I think we see that the future of the rules, the future of basic extensibility is Starlark, right? You'll see more and more of that, more capabilities coming to Starlark and stuff like that, right? So then there is continuous improvement for Windows. TensorFlow has switched the entire build also on Windows to Bazel, which is a great step. And on this list, last but not least, is the much better CI system. So our CI setup a year ago was Jenkins, kind of, which didn't work very well. And now we have a much better system that really gives us confidence in the quality of stuff we're doing. And of course, a lot more things that were happening by the team in the last year. So, and then you'll hear a lot of lightning talks about things today. We'll hear about remote cache and execution in depth, and so there'll be more updates throughout this conference about what we've been doing, right? What I really want to talk to you about today is where we go from there, right? So if you think about how Bazel came to be, we've been using Bazel, it used to be named Blaze, at Google internally for our things. And we grew to love this development process that Melody has talked about today, with fast tests, fast builds, same things for all languages, uniform build process. Our developers love it. And we wanted to share that with the world, right? And so that's how we open source Bazel. And when we did that, we didn't know what's out there. We just gave what we had to people out there. And that was a big experiment. We wanted to see how it works. We wanted to see what will you do with it, what's good, what's working, what's not, right? And over the last year, I think one thing that kind of happened in the team as well was that we took stock of what worked, what not, what lessons we learned, and where we want to move forward. And I think going forward, we're trying to consolidate that and make sure we have something that works for people, right? So one thing we did formulate over the last year as well was the vision of Bazel. What world we want to enable with Bazel being out there, right? And then that's kind of the world we have at Google, scaled up to sort of entire world, if you will, right? And there are three key things that we have. It's build fundamentals that you have for granted. You can build and test stuff, right? And that's of course, the most important thing. But then uniformity of the language, uniformity of the build system means that everybody can contribute to any project and set it up easily. You git clone, you Bazel build /.. and then you get your system up and running. That's the vision we have. And of course, this works for projects of any size team and any size code base, right? So we need to scale. This is the world we want to have, the world where you can go to GitHub, get any project, use Bazel to build it, and then get it up and running and start contributing, right? And this is the vision. But thinking about what kind of features Bazel provide, we see these core competencies as the most important part. So Bazel needs to be multi-language, support multi-platform builds. It has to be fast and correct, so incrementality, hermeticity, the reproducibility guarantees Bazel needs to have. We have the uniform extensible build definition language you can use for different languages, for different platforms, different ecosystems. Of course, the build has to scale. So that means the only way to scale beyond your single machine is to scale towards a cluster. And that means remote execution and remote builds. So remote builds and remote execution are a huge, important part of this whole story. And then the next step, that's something that we actually learned over time, is the gradual adoption piece. We recognize that. So you have your project, and you convert your project to Bazel. It might take a while. But if besides that, you also face the need to convert your entire set of dependencies, your entire world to Bazel as well, that's not a great story. So we try to enable this gradual adoption place with things like CMake external rules and other things that we're going to talk about during the conference as well. And of course, it needs to work on all platforms. Google internally is all Linux, mostly, right? But then, of course, what out there is macOS and Windows, FreeBSD, other operating systems. So Bazel needs to work there as well. So these are the, I guess, these are the core competencies that we want to enable with Bazel. And that became very clear. And now I guess the next step is, well, we are not there yet. If I ask anyone, you will tell me, 5 things you hate about Bazel right now that we need to fix. Which means that, of course, we cannot kind of get there immediately. We will have to change things. Going forward, we will have to change things. There will be some changes in the API, some changes in how we approach things. We'll have to evolve how Bazel works, evolve to adapt to new languages, evolve to adapt to new ecosystems, evolve to adapt to a new way of doing things. And we have to move fast, right? We have to catch up, as Melody said in her talk. Developer community is rapidly evolving. Things come up all the time. The new stuff is happening and need to adapt and catch up and hopefully lead even, right? But of course, and we have been kind of doing that. We kind of running. But now we realize that we actually need to get to a place where the community can catch up. One of the biggest complaints we hear from our users is that, well, Bazel breaks me all the time, right? So what we want to get to as a first order is to get to a place where we can manage change. So this first thing we want to start doing, starting maybe in a month or so, maybe in November release, is having the kind of, when we do breaking changes, we do that gently, we do that carefully. And this means, it is 3 things. We clearly say what stuff is unstable and experimental and which is not. We give all of you space to adapt to adjust to the changes. And we communicate those changes extensively and openly in a single place, right? So here's some ideas of how we're going to do that. This is our plan going forward. That can change over time with your feedback, of course. But so first of all, we need to figure out what's unstable, right? And to the first approximation, if you have your build and you run the build with -- experimental flag, that's no guarantees. That's unstable. It's going to break at any time. So don't if you don't want breakage, don't do that, right? However, everything else, if you don't have a -- experimental flag, this behavior is stable and supported. So you can rely on this. And this includes things like Starlock APIs. This includes rules that are bundled with Bazel, Bazel APIs as you might build event protocol and execution APIs, flags and their semantics. So if everybody in the room can recognize that this is a lot to promise. There's high-room law that you probably know that people will depend on your bugs and people will depend on things. And we can accidentally break you. That might happen. But when we do intentional changes to the system, we will follow this guidance. If there's unintentional changes, if there are bugs, there are issues, we will deal with them in some manner. We'll figure out what the breakage is, how we can fix that, roll back. We will maybe figure out how to fix things. But our intentions are that as long as stuff is not under experimental flag, it's stable, it's supported, right? OK. So now, but of course, we cannot just keep things at the same place, right? We have to move forward. So we will have to introduce some break-in changes. The idea there is that we will, the key principle there is that we will avoid upgrade cliffs for the break-in changes, so that at any time you can take Bazel, update to the next release, and then at your own pace, at your own time, update your code to catch up with that next release. And the idea is this is here. For every incompatible change that we have, we will have a migration window. That migration window will be a release during which release you can actually update your code. And every incompatible change will come with a flag that will be turned to off but available in the migration window release. And there'll be a migration recipe. That migration recipe will tell you how to update your code so that it works with the flag on and off in that Bazel release. So for example, if you rename a Starlock function, we will keep during the migration window, there's old name function and new name function in the same release. So you can just update your code. You can keep using the release. It will still work. And you kind of, once you do that, you can easily upgrade to the next release. You don't have to, you're not bound to update your code at the same time as you update the release. So that's kind of the story we want to give you. We want to be at a place where a community is able to follow the changes, where the community is not stuck behind bad releases, specific releases, and doesn't need to go in jumps. We really want to have a smooth transition towards new things, right? So yeah, when these new changes come in, what you should do is you update Bazel, you go through your code, apply the migration recipes. You can validate that with that release as well using the incompatible change flags, turn to on. If it's turned to on, it passes, it should work on the next release. But then for your development production builds, you should really use Bazel as released without any flags. And you should not tell people downstream to use incompatible flags. It should always be Bazel, release Bazel in the kind of pristine state. Okay. And then, of course, we will communicate those changes profusely. We'll have every compatible change will come with a flag. We'll have a GitHub issue with a recipe to migrate. Hopefully, migration tools. Stellar team did put a lot of effort in building formatters and refactoring tools. So we'll hopefully leverage that to provide you with automatic tools to migrate as well. And in the release notes for the release, we'll announce which changes are flipped on next, in the next release. And then that's your turn. Now you can use that to update your code, and you can provide feedback on those GitHub issues and tell us if the migration recipes are wrong or if the change happened too fast or something like that. So we can, we can adjust our pace. But one thing I really want you to do is to give us feedback, test these things, give us feedback, see if that works, that system works, that that procedure works for you. Okay, so this plan is for managing change. Right? First we need to manage change. We need to figure out what we change, how we break people. Are we doing this in a good way? Do we have a good migration story? But of course, then the next step is to increase stability by, not actually shipping these changes every release, but we'll gradually ratchet up the size of the stability window to maybe first 3 months and 6 months, and then on and on and on. Right? So this is the plan. We will get to stability, and we'll get it through this process of communicating and managing incompatible changes, and then increasing the stability windows. All right, so, and just a bit of guidance with this system is your production builds should not require any experimental compatible flags at all. Right? Don't take, if you run the builds, don't use those. It's a bad sign. Right, and so do test your builds as Bazel comes along, and that's especially important for those who maintain things like rule sets or sort of important connected nodes in the ecosystems. Let's say you have a popular library that's built with Bazel, or you have a a rule set. Then definitely do that. Definitely try to follow the change, and we'll help you with that. And definitely test our release candidates, get us more feedback about what things we are doing. If you do accidental breaking changes, tell us about that so we can help and adjust and adapt and figure out what's the right solution in the specific cases. All right, so this is something about the breaking changes, and this is about some of the pace of our development. But then I really want to talk about sort of what's happening. And I guess I think you see the motive of this talk already. It's Bazel is coming from a beta tool, from this experiment that we try to run with certain success, and we try to make it in the supported, mature tool that people can actually use, can rely on in their, during their DevOps operations. And Bazel is nothing without our ecosystem. We cannot possibly provide all the support for all the language on the planet, for all the ecosystems, all the development environments, all the things people are doing. It's you're a very diverse audience, and without people like Itai and other folks and Vix who are doing rule Scala and other examples like that, we cannot really push this forward. We cannot deliver this value. So Bazel Vision is impossible without ecosystem around Bazel, which means that once Bazel matures, Bazel ecosystems needs to mature too. Again, remember now our core competencies is multi-language, multi-platform. That's a part where the ecosystem comes in, right? and we can use Starlark, our uniform accessible language, to provide that value. But then, of course, for every ecosystem, there should be a rule set. And that rule set needs to support something. So it needs to be well supported, and it needs to have properties that enable this vision for this particular ecosystem. So if you kind of look at what are the requirements on the good rule set, we summarize that in this like 6 points. So it definitely should support build and test for that. It should support stuff like package manager, so you can import your third-party dependencies. It has to be extensively interoperable. So for people who are familiar with sandwich, that's what I mean, right? So you can depend on this stuff from other languages. It has to be remote execution ready, which means toolchain and configurability. There should be some IDE support if possible. And of course, there should be some engineering practice around rule set. It shouldn't be just, here's a bunch of code on GitHub. It's there, and nobody maintains that. There should be some sort of ownership, some sort of there should be continuous integration. It should be updated, and so on and so forth. So what we came up with, and basically, like I said, Bazel as a product, Bazel as a thing that people can actually use, is nothing without rule sets. And the way we want to, but of course, we cannot own all the rule sets. So what we want to have is a notion of this recommended rule set, a rule set for which we have clear owners, and for which Bazel team can say, all right, for this ecosystem, we have a rule set that people can actually rely on, right? And so the idea here is that we will, as a team, as a community, find and recommend those rule sets, and we'll have an objective and open criteria for recommending those rule sets. And some of those are here. So it's got to be a good rule set in the sense of previous slide. It has to provide all the features. I think more importantly, it has to be documented and tested and follow the best practices. And it has to be maintained. There has to be an ownership behind this. Somebody who's willing to maintain that rule set, fix bugs, adjust to changes, and so on and so forth. Right? And of course, Bazel team, in terms of Google standing behind Bazel, will provide resources to the maintainers of those rule sets, such as CI, continuous integration support. We will promote on GitHub or Bazel build. We will advertise your rule set. So this kind of stuff will happen. So I see this as sort of a kind of a partnership that we'll have with those people who maintain those rule sets, right? Yeah. So this is the future as we see it, where we will have stable support Bazel and an ecosystem with clear rules about what's good, what's not so good, and sort of what's experimental, what's not experimental, what's stable, what's recommended. And we'll work over the next few months in getting those rules right, but that's the direction we want to go, right? OK, so let's talk about Bazel 1.0. The Bazel 1.0 is really some sort of a place where I would even say we finish one phase of our life cycle as a product. We'll get to another place. And this new place will be we have to be stable. We have to make sure that we don't break our rules all the time. But we also need to kind of fulfill there is certain value behind Bazel. It needs to deliver that value for a selected set of ecosystems. We can't deliver that value for the whole world. That's impossible. But we need to focus. We need to find, OK, here's the things where Bazel can really shine. And we can focus on those, right? So Bazel 1.0 is stable Bazel with good rule sets for some ecosystems, right? And we as a team will probably put our weight behind some of those. But of course, we welcome your cooperation with with other things that you want to be a part of that thing. OK, so now I'm going to show a slide. That slide has a list. I'm very hesitant to show it because the lists are always stuck in your mind, right? And then you are, this list. So here is a list of things that we think that are committed, that we know there's a team behind, there are people committed to actually make it to Bazel 1.0. So that's kind of server-side Java, C++, Angular support, of which you'll hear in the next talk from Alex, and Android, right? This is not the final list. Definitely, we can add more rules here. And as we develop this criteria for recommended rule sets, it's just about making the date pretty much, right? But basically, these are the ones we already have, and we might have more, right? And yeah, everybody on a date, we will commit to a date soon. We are very, very sure. So, it looks like you people are software engineers, right? You know what it is. But here's the thing: we as a team, we need to find out the right pace, to find out the right roadmaps. And one part of that is feedback from this conference. If you guys tell me, wow, rules Python is so important, and we can try to kind of get this community around them, and so maybe we can kind of adjust the date a little bit or see something. But basically, one reason why we commit to a date soon is here instead of a date is because we want to hear feedback from you. All right, and then I want to leave you with this. It's a phase transition. We are starting a phase transition. We do not intend it to be long. It is not years and years. It's months. It's maybe several months, right? And Bazel needs to grow up, needs to become dependable and reliable. Just like it's this teenager thing, right? Before we were brilliant, but we were not reliable. We had mood swings. We have issues, and now we have to grow out of that. We have to continue being brilliant, try to get even more brilliant, but still we need to become dependable and reliable. I see this and not the features as our primary goal for the next few months, right? And then once we get there, once we get to dependable, reliable state, we will consider other stuff, right? So for example, we hear so much about, say, build file generation support, kind of integrated into Bazel, about all the compilers that keep state, this kind of things, which are interesting projects, which we will maybe work on in experimental mode, but they will probably not be a part of Bazel 1.0, right? So, but again, Bazel team will try to make it so. We'll try to become. We are going to grow up. We're going to be better at that, and we need your help with that as well. All people in this room are part of our Bazel ecosystem. Help us with adapting to change. Help us with providing feedback. Help us with testing our release candidates. Help us with updating the rules. Help us by being good citizens in the rule ecosystem. Yes. So with that, thank you very much for coming here, and welcome.